Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another 10 pens currently inked for this week. I think let's go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have the Armando Simoni Club, and this is the Bologna Extra, and this is in the Chatterley Luxuries Wild West. We have a WAHL Eversharp Decoband Oversize, and this is in the Positano blue. We have another WAHL Eversharp Decoband Oversize, and this is in the Wild. We have a Montegrappa, and this is a Bartolomeo Ferracina in shiny circles. We have a Urushi Studio India Xiphos-R in Akka Tamenuri. We have a Sailor King of Pen Sakura Nagare. We have a Taccia Miyabi's Winter's Breath. We have a Conway Stewart, and this is the Series 100 Red Stardust. We have another Conway Stewart, and this is the Churchill in, again, the Red Stardust material. And then we have a Visconti Daedalus. So I think let's take a look at these pens in a little bit more detail. So this is the Armando Simoni Club Bologna Extra, and if you've watched a number of my videos, you know that I have quite a few of these pens. This is a really nice pen. Typically, a lot of the Armando Simoni Club Bologna Extra pens are celluloid. Now, this is not celluloid, this is resin. But you can see there that it's like a striated resin, and it actually looks as though it's been cut across the grain into various slices and almost sort of fusion bonded or glued together to create this kind of like layered effect there. Some people call this a spaghetti look as well. That is another way of calling it. I know Leonardo and likewise ASC in the past have called this like a spaghetti like material. But this is a beautiful pen. You can see here it actually says here Wild West, and you actually have a picture of the Wild West there on that cap band. So this is a really lovely pen. I like the size of these pens. I like the nibs. These are number 8 size nibs, and this is a Bock nib. Typically that they don't have any nib width designation, so it's typically a medium nib, but it writes quite wet, so it writes more on a medium to a broad. You can also see here this lovely band here as well along the sort of top of the section there, or the bottom of the body. In terms of the size of my hand, this is actually a really nice size. You can post the cap, but it doesn't post deeply and it won't go past this band. So I don't post caps normally, and I don't post this cap, but this is a beautiful pen. So I have that one inked up with me this week as well. I have the WAHL Eversharp Decoband Oversize, and this is in the Positano blue. Now, the Armando Simoni Club Bologna Extras and the WAHL Eversharp Decoband Oversizes basically have a pneumatic filler, and you can probably see there it has a hole. So you basically unscrew these. I'm not going to put my finger over this hole, but you unscrew this and you pull out this sleeve, and what you do is you put your finger over that hole to create a suction. You push that down, it deflates the sack, and when you let your finger off, a load of ink will rush into the sack that is inside the pen. Now, if I did that by pushing this down with my finger over it, it would have ejected all of the ink into the cap. So that's why I didn't put my finger on it. But this is a beautiful pen. I love this Positano blue material here. It's got a lot of chatoyance here in this material that you can just see there. And it comes alive. It's almost like a galaxy. This is a resin. It's not a celluloid, again. But it really does have a lot of chatoyance there. And that's the reason why I did pick up this Positano. So again, this, like the Armando Simoni Club Bologna Extra, has a number 8 size Bock nib there. And it's a WAHL Eversharp nib. Very similar, if not almost identical, to the Armando Simoni Club nib. In terms of the size of my hand, it's actually a pretty good pen. I can post it quite deeply and quite securely, but it's a massive pen. You can see that there. So I typically do not post my pens, because a lot of my pens are really longer pens in my collection. I do have some shorter ones, like this one is a shorter one here, the Conway Stewart. The next pen here is, again, another WAHL Eversharp, and I've got that end cap just unscrewed a little bit there. Again, this is a Decoband Oversize. This is in the wild or wild side. You've got the roller clip there. And again, a number 8 size nib, Bock nib, but this is a ruthenium plated nib. So ruthenium is a dark metal or black almost. Again, in the size of my hand, this is really good, and I've got this one inked up again this week as well. I really, really do like writing with not only the Armando Simoni Club Bolognas, but also the WAHL Eversharps, because they are very wet writers. Although I do have to be very careful in a notebook, because I do find that it not only does it take a lot longer for the ink to dry, but it also can bleed through depending on the paper that you're writing on. So, or not maybe bleed through, but show through or goes through. So it really depends on the paper. Like if you use Tamenuri River, then it would probably go through, but it wouldn't bleed. But if you use something like probably Clairefontaine, probably it would bleed through. So you do have to be a bit careful with these kind of pens, because they are super wet writers. So I have that one inked up with me today as well. I have this one, and this is the Montegrappa, and it's the Bartolomeo Ferracina in the shiny circles. And Bartolomeo was a clock maker, and you have a sort of quartz clock there on the end of the pen. That really wasn't the selling point for this pen for me. The selling point was not only the shiny circles celluloid here, but also the sort of bulbous shape that you have here. And it looks as though this is going to be a very uncomfortable pen to hold in your hand, but it is super comfortable. It has a number 8 size nib, and Montegrappa typically recess their nibs, so it looks a little bit more like a number 6 because the nib's pushed in a lot into that section. But it really feels very comfortable in my hand, and I do like writing with this a lot. I've got a shiny lines dove from Montegrappa as well. That's in the Extra 1930, which I also like writing with, but I was going to ink up both pens, but I decided I was only going to ink up one of them, because I have got quite a few pens inked up that I am rotating. I'm trying to run out or empty, and I don't really want to ink too many more up. So I have that one inked up with me this week. I then have this one, which is a lovely Urushi pen, and I think Vivek at Urushi Studio India did a good job on this pen. I do like Aka Tamenuri. I have to say, at least at the moment, Aka Tamenuri is the Urushi that I prefer. It's this really sort of deep red, but can go light red as well. So this is the Xiphos-R that GM Custom Pens make. And I got this with a steel nib on it. It's a Yovo nib. It's I think I've got a medium nib on there now. Yeah, it's a medium nib. It's the original nib. I think I was going to put a broad nib on it at one point, but I've actually been enjoying the medium nib. Now, you can, because it's a Yovo nib, you can just swap that nib out and put a gold nib on there, and that's what I thought. I thought rather than buying with a gold nib, I would just buy it with a steel nib, and then maybe I would swap it out for a gold nib a little bit later. But at the moment, I'm liking the steel nib, and I'm liking the medium nib. So I have that one inked up with me this week as well. I have this stunning pen, and this is the Sailor, and this is the King of pen. You'll see that here. So it will say Sailor there, 1911 Sailor, Japan, and it's founded in 1911. So this is the Sailor King of pen. So it is a King of pen model. It's not the regular black ones. It's the Sakura Nagare. So it's really Sakura petals flowing down the river. And you can see that here. These petals are really, really beautiful. So it is a Macchiae, it is a Varden. Some people say that it's a little bit sort of bling or over too much gold and that. I like it. I really do like this pen. And I like the feel that this Varden, I can feel the Varden chunks, even though it's got a lacquer over the top. I can't feel the gold, but I can feel there's a pattern. It's almost like a cobblestone road I'm feeling here. It's quite interesting. Now, this does have a number 8 size nib, and that's the Sailor King of Pen nib there. It's a single tone nib, but this is actually a good size in my hand, and you can post the cap quite deeply. But again, like because of the Macchiae and the Varden, I don't want to really mar that too much. So I don't normally post these pens, because if I do, I'm pretty sure at some point I'm going to regret it. So you can also line this pattern up there. So there you go. You get a continuous pattern between the cap and the body. So that one's inked up as well. I also wanted to show some friends the Taccia Miyabi Winter's Breath, and that's this pen. And this is a stunning work of art as well. It's an amazing pen. It's Varden, and it's got quails, crushed quail's eggs on the pen, and it's all lacquered over the top. A very beautiful pen, very stunning, and you can just see that here. It really is a remarkable pen, and it's just a pen that I love, and I was so happy I was able to pick this up. I picked it up from Brian at Chatterley. It does have the smaller number 6 size nib. I say smaller. Most smaller nibs are normally a size 4 or 5. 6 is actually a large nib, but in this pen, it actually looks quite small. Taccia have now recently made another version of this pen with a number 8 size King of Pen size nib, which I think this really actually cries out for. And I wish they'd done that to start with, but I do love how this nib writes. So for me, this is a really good pen. And again, can I post this cap? I can, but I'm not going to post it hard because I don't want to mar that finish. So for me, this is a really good pen. It's a cartridge converter pen, just like the Sailor King of Pen there, but it's a beautiful pen. So I have that one inked up with me this week as well. And then a friend wanted to see a couple of my Conway Stewarts. So I did sell one of my Conway Stewarts a couple of years ago. So I brought out the 2 red Conway Stewart Stardust, the red Stardust. And this is the Series 100. And this really has a beautiful material there that you can see. So it has some sort of gold dust sort of inside that material, but there's a lot of depth and chatoyance to this material. It's a material that I really do like a lot, and you can see there you've got the Conway Stewart clip, the Conway Stewart logo. It is a small pen, and it does have a very small section there, and it is thin as well. So it's not typically a pen that I will write with a lot, because I do typically like wider pens or sort of more girthy pens. I can post the cap, and actually that makes it a little bit more longer and a little bit back weighted. And for me, actually, this is a pen that if I am going to post a pen, it would be this pen. There's probably a few pens in my collection that I would post. Again, it's a cartridge converter pen, but it is a real beauty of a pen, and it's got a broad nib. It's a 18 karat gold nib on that pen. And then the next pen again is another Conway Stewart and another red Stardust material, but this is in the Churchill this time. So this is a typical Churchill model that Conway Stewart used to make. These 2 pens are actually made by Bespoke British Pens now that Conway Stewart have actually ceased trading. But this is beautiful, again, beautiful material. Now, this is the kind of size of pen that I like. It's a lot more girthier. It's a lot more weightier. It's a cartridge converter again. it does have a brass insert into the barrel, so that adds a little bit more of weight. I think it's about 8 to 10 grams. It's not a huge amount, but it's enough to actually make a difference. Can you post the cap? You can, and it does post quite deeply and also securely. But it does look like a wand, so it's not a pen again that I would want to post myself. I know a lot of you do post pens. Again, it's another 18 karat gold nib. It's a medium nib on this one. It was a broad on this one here. It's a flag nib. I believe that Bespoke British Pens, BBP, have now moved away from the flag nib and they've gone back to the Conway Stewart engraved nib, which for me actually is a good thing, because if you're going to call it a Conway Stewart, I think it should really have a Conway Stewart logo on the nib. And as much as I don't have any issues with the flag nib, and I actually do like it, it's I think it probably is a little bit more fitting to have a Conway Stewart engraved nib or imprinted nib there on the newer models. And then the last pen I have inked up this week is this beauty, and it's the Visconti Daedalus. And you can see there the maze for the Daedalus. You can see here. But then you also have the bull's sort of horns here as well. And it says Daedalus. And of course you have the ball there as well. So this is a really beautiful pen. It's a blue sort of lucite, I think semi-transparent material. It has some silver dust in there as well, which makes it sparkle a little bit there. And it's then got a silver overlay on top, and then it's got enamel on that overlay. It's a beautiful pen. It's not as heavy as you think it might be, but this has a lovely 23 karat palladium medium nib on there, and I like it. I like how this writes a lot. So I have that one inked up. Can I post a cap? I can. It won't post deeply or securely. Well, I guess it does post securely, but not deeply. But again, it's not a pen that I would post, because that is very back weighted at that point. So that pen is also inked up this week as well. So I think with that, let's go and do a writing sample. So I think let's do a writing sample here. We'll do an ink swatch first. So this is one of the very wet writing nibs. The ASC Bolognas do write very, very wet. So this is the ASC Bologna Extra, and it's the Wild West, and it's a medium, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine Poppy Red, which is a really nice red ink that I do like a lot. The next pen is a WAHL Eversharp Decoband Oversize in the Positano blue. So we'll do an ink swatch. And again, these WAHL Eversharps are super wet, just like the ASC Bologna. So I love how these write, but you do have to be careful if you're wanting to turn the page, or even bleed through onto the back side of the page. So this is a WAHL Eversharp, and it's the Decoband, and it's the Oversize, and it's a Positano, and it's a medium, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine Azure Blue, which is a nice blue ink. Depending on the pen, sometimes it comes out a bit lighter than it has here. In this pen, it does come out a lot darker. The next pen here is a WAHL Eversharp Decoband Oversize in the Wild. So we'll do an ink swatch. And again, a very wet nib. Now these nibs are also quite bouncy as well, so you can flex them quite a bit, and you can see there that is quite wet. So this is the WAHL Eversharp Decoband Oversize in the wild, and again a medium 18 cat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Waterman, and it's intense black. I want to sometimes call it inspired black, but it's not. It is intense black. The next pen is the Montegrappa Bartolomeo Ferracina in the shiny circles. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now, I have had a few people ask me about Montegrappa nibs over the last few months, and asking if they do write wet or do write dry. Typically, my experience with Montegrappa nibs is that they do write dry, and they do need a bit of tuning if you want to make them write wet. So this is a Montegrappa, and it's the Bartolomeo Ferracina. And it's the shiny circles. I'm going to try and get this in. And it's a medium 18 cat gold nib. It just about fits there. And then the ink in here is Diamine. And it is Earl Grey, which is my favourite grey ink. It's a beautiful ink. The next pen is the Urushi Studio India Xiphos-R in Tamenuri. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now this is a medium nib, and just have a look. I do find the medium Yovo nibs write a little bit on the dry side for me, a little bit too much on the dry side. So I have thought about swapping this out for a broad nib, and I probably will at some point, but at the moment I still have a medium nib in here. So this is the Urushi Studio India, and it's the Xiphos R for regular size, and it's in Tamenuri. And it's a medium, it's a still nib, and it's a Yovo nib. And then the ink in here also is, let me just double check that. I'm pretty sure I know what that ink is. This is also Diamine ink, but this one is Wild Strawberry. The next pen is the Sailor King of Pen, and it's the Sakura Nagare. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now, again, the Sailor nibs I typically find right on the dry side. So sometimes you do have to, unfortunately, unscrew and just prime the converter a little bit, just to make it write a little bit wetter. So this is the Sailor, and it's the King of Pen, Sakura Nagare. And this is a broad, and it's a 21 karat gold nib, because Sailor King of Pen nibs are 21 karat gold. And then the ink in here is KWZ Grapefruit, which is another favourite ink of mine in the sort of orangey type colour. The next pen here is the Taccia Miyabi's Winter's Breath. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now, although this is a Taccia pen, this nib is made by Sailor. So again, a little bit more of a drier writing nib as well. It's not a fire hose nib or really wet nib. So this is the Taccia, and it's Miyabi, and it's the Winter's Breath. And this is a broad, but this is a number 6 size nib, so, and it's a Taccia nib, so it's an 18 cat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Pelican, Edelstein, Topaz. And I know a lot of Pelican, Edelstein inks, the gemstone inks, that are not normally necessarily the colour that you think it might be. And Topaz is not, that's not the colour I thought it would be. But when I got this colour ink, I actually fell in love with it. So I do like this ink a lot. But I know some of the gemstone colours can be very different. Some can be blues, some can be yellows, some can be purples. It can be quite different to what you think the name would normally be. The next pen is the Conway Stewart, and this is the Series 100, and it's in the red Stardust. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And this is a nice colour ink. So this is the Conway Stewart, and it's the Series 100, and it's the red Stardust. Now it's a broad, and it's an 18 cat gold nib. The ink in here today is Waterman, and it's Audacious Red, which is a beautiful red ink from Waterman. The next pen is again another Conway Stewart. This is the Churchill, but in the red Stardust. So we'll do another ink swatch. And you can see that there. It's not a bad writing nib. It's a little bit between a dry and a wet nib. It's sort of about 50-50, I would say. So this is a Conway Stewart, and it's the Churchill. And again, red Stardust is the material. This one is a medium, and again an 18 cat gold nib. And the ink in here is Diamine, and it's Poppy Red. And then the last pen here is the Visconti Daedalus. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now I have this inked up with a blue ink. And I don't know, I may either have to refill this or flush it out, because it is getting a little bit lower on ink. So this is the Visconti Daedalus. It's a medium, and it's a, just double checking, I'm pretty sure it's a 23 cat palladium nib. So palladium nib. And then the ink in here is Visconti Blue, which is quite a saturated blue and quite an underrated blue. And it very much reminds me of Noodler's Bay State Blue without like the staining properties. It's quite a punchy blue. So I think let's take a look at these pens inked up one more time. So we have an Armando Simoni Club Bologna Extra Wild West in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamond Poppy Red. We have a WAHL Eversharp Decoband Oversize in the Positano Blue in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamond Azure Blue. We have a WAHL Eversharp Decoband Oversize in the Wild in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Waterman Intense Black. We have a Montegrappa Bartolomeo Ferracina in the Shiny Circles Celluloid in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamond Earl Grey. We have a Urushi Studio India Xiphos-R in an Akka Tamenuri finish with a medium steel nib inked up with Diamond Wild Strawberry. We have a Sailor King of Pens Sakura Nagare in a broad 21 karat gold nib inked up with KWZ Grapefruit. We have a Taccia Miyabi Winter's Breath in a broad 18 karat gold nib inked up with Pelican Edelstein Topaz. We have a Conway Stewart Series 100 in the red Stardust with a broad 18 karat gold nib inked up with Waterman Audacious Red. We have a Conway Stewart Churchill in a red Stardust in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamond Poppy Red. And then we have a Visconti Daedalus in a medium 23 karat palladium nib inked up with Visconti Blue. So there you have it. That's my currently inked pens for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.